Well, hello and happy Tuesday. Welcome back to Motivation and Conversation. And so we are gearing up for the upcoming Pen to Paper Summit 2026, and I am super excited. And so, as always, I've talked about pen to paper um, on numerous occasions. Of course, this is the ninth year. Can you believe it? It's the ninth year. So next year will be the 10th year of pen to paper. And so we've done workshops, we've done conferences, we've done summits, we've done retreats, we've done master classes. And so I'm so excited about this year because there is a shift that's happening. And so today I want to slow us down intentionally. And I want to talk a little bit about what's going to be happening this Saturday, January 31st. And of course, Pen to Paper kicks off um, at 10 a.m. on this Saturday coming up. But I wanted to take the opportunity tonight to just share a little bit about what is happening. And not only that, but what Pen to Paper offers, Um, because if you're listening to this episode, if you're listening to me right now, chances are you don't lack ideas, you don't lack vision, you don't even lack faith, but what you may be lacking is clarity that has been written. And that is so very key. So this particular episode tonight is the heart behind an experience that here again I've created and I've called it pen to paper. And the experience is something I'm going to write about one day. But it was born out of years of working with aspiring entrepreneurs and business owners and leaders and visionaries and ministry leaders and um, people who were not confused necessarily, but overwhelmed. And so, not necessarily overwhelmed with too many ideas or overwhelmed by movement without structure or overwhelmed by carrying vision in their head instead of governing it on paper. But um, it's, the thing that has existed to um, become that catalyst because clarity is not a feeling that you wait for, it's a discipline that you practice. So, I want to just kind of walk through some very key and intricate things tonight that may be helpful for you, especially if you have seen the marketing, heard about it, been told about it, someone experienced and told you about it. I'm sure it's been a buzz here and there for quite a long time. And you've been on the fence, and it's like, I don't know what's behind it. And of course, without understanding something, oftentimes it's difficult to make a decision about it when there's no clarity. So I wanted to provide some clarity tonight and for a few minutes, if you will indulge me. So here's what I have observed across every stage of entrepreneurship, and I have really share with a lot of people. Aspiring entrepreneurs often feel stuck because they don't know where to start. That's the main thing, especially with those people who are trying to get going and that kind of thing. They aspire to do it, but it's like, I don't know where to start. I got all the ideas, all the creativity. Entrepreneurs feel frustrated because they're busy, but they are not aligned. So we can be busy doing a lot of things, but we're not in alignment. So, established business owners, a lot of times, they feel tired because growth has outpaced their structure. Different stages, same issue. So, vision has not been what fully articulated. And so, we live in a culture that celebrates movement but ignores order. That's evident with what we're experiencing even right now. We live in a culture that celebrates movement but ignores order. And so that's really important to understand. We praise that hustle, but then rarely talk about sustainability. Because we can hustle to one extent, but what are you going to do when it's time for sustainability? And what do you have in place? What structure do you have in place for the sustainability? So as a result, people move quickly, but not always wisely. So the scripture, of course, which is what pen to paper is based off of Becca 2 and 2, says, write the vision and make it plain that he may run who reads it. And so I always say, you know, if it ain't written, it can't be read. And if it can't be read, you can't run with it. So notice the order. Write first, then clarity, then movement, right? But many people want to run before they've written. And oftentimes that's where we get derailed. So at the heart of things, pen to paper is not, it's not a conference. It's not motivation. It's definitely not motivation. It's not another inspirational moment that fades by Monday. Trust me when I tell you, a pen to paper is a clarity experience. And I cannot tell you the number of people who have experienced clarity after attending a pen to paper experience. So it was created to help people. Number one of the things we do is to slow the thinking. Because when we slow down, it's just like this past weekend that was inclement weather, people were they were thinking. They were still, they were utilizing their creativity, they were thinking their thoughts through, all the things. Why? Because they slowed down. So after slowing down your thinking, then we want to help you to define your direction and then help you to document what matters. Because here's the truth of the matter, everything that's in your head, even though you write it down, you won't use everything. So you got to document what's essential and pertinent to the vision structure. That's key, right? I say the same thing to authors. When you're preparing to write a book and do authorship, write everything. You will use most, but a lot of it you won't use it. But you need to get it out of your head. That's what's important. And then the next thing is to get you to move forward with intention. That is so important, the intentionality, because a lot of times it's just, it goes in the wind. And so it's important. And then we do this follow up, you right? So, because what is not written can't be stewarded. That's important to remember. What is not written cannot be stewarded. What is not defined cannot be sustained. And what is not structured cannot grow without costing you peace. And oftentimes people that's when they want to get the clarity. That's when they want to write it down because now you don't have peace and you got chaos. So, at its core, pen to paper is more about leadership, starting with leadership over your own vision. You got to have leadership over your own vision. So, it's just not, it's a whimsical idea, it's a witty idea, and this is what I want to do. No, you need to have leadership um, over your own vision. So let's walk through the process pen to paper offers. And so this year, our theme is Beyond the Blueprint, Vision, Velocity, and Vested Action. And so I kind of want to touch on those areas just to give you an idea of what we're talking about here. So when we talk about vision, we talk about what must be written, right? Vision is not imagination. Vision is articulation. We just alluded to that. So at pen to paper, we don't ask, what do you want someday? So we're not looking at the material things, that kind of thing, vision board kind of stuff. No, we ask, what are you responsible for right now? And so vision is going to answer um, what you're building, who is it for, and why does it matter right now in this season? Okay. So writing forces honesty, but it removes assumptions. Because now you're not guessing in your head and you're not trying to declutter without a process. It exposes gaps and it brings peace where confusion once lived. Because as long as you got all these thoughts in your head, it's not on paper, you haven't extracted anything, confusion is always there. So clarity begins when vision is written. Clarity begins when vision is written. You gotta write it down, write the vision. So pen to paper helps you to identify a few things. Number one, what moves first, what can wait, and what must stop. Because sometimes I talk about we have things that we can do because we're gifted and created to do certain things, and there are a lot of things that comes with a multiplicity for some people, multi-talented. So there are a lot of things we can do, but what are we called to do? So sometimes we're spending a lot of times on what we can do, but we're not really functioning in the things that we're called to do. So sometimes that's what must stop. And so not only that, I allude to the Eisenhower matrix a lot of times, important. What's important, what's urgent, what's important but not urgent, what's not important and not urgent, and then what's not important and not it's not urgent. So if it's not important, it's not urgent, get rid of it. We spending time on stuff we shouldn't be spending time on, right? So this is where people realize that clarity is not about doing more, right? It's about doing what matters in the right order, and that's what's key. Velocity without wisdom leads to exhaustion. Okay, but velocity with clarity leads to momentum. That's super, super, super important. Okay, I'm gonna say it again. Velocity without wisdom leads to exhaustion, but velocity with clarity leads to momentum, because this is all about the strategy and the balance of what you're doing, when you're doing it, and how you need to place it. Because sometimes we move fast, but we're not moving forward, right? We're busy, but we're not productive. So that's important. And then we're going to talk about vested action, of course. So this is why ownership is required and it's necessary. So here's the part people often avoid. Vested action means ownership. You own it. And so you'll hear people that have 12,000 businesses, and it's all right to do multiple things, but you're not really owning any of them. You're hustling. And so there's not intention, there's not hope, it's not when things slow down, it's ownership, right? It's ownership. So you got to own it. So scripture tells us faith without works is dead, and in business clarity without action is incomplete. So if we gain the clarity, then we got to have some vested action in there, right? um so this is what we invite you to do. And that is it, we invite you to participate in writing commitments, right? What will you fund? What will you prioritize? What will you protect? And what will you execute regardless of conditions? See, that's one of the things about aspiring entrepreneurs, and business owners. So, for people who are aspiring to be entrepreneurs, these are things that you need to clearly understand, because every season will not be an up season. You may start on 12 and end up on two. What do you do when you're on two? You don't quit, you pivot. And you got to understand that different conditions cause for different ways of managing. It's just like certain storms require certain things. So snow and ice storms require something different than a tornado. So they're different storms, different preparation, different things that you need to be prepared for. And so this is important, and this is where the clarity becomes real, right? And all of this is to get you to a place of establishing your own clarity operating system based on your vision. So this is what makes pen to paper sustainable and not just impactful. I'm big on impact. And so that is definitely the key, regardless of who's presenting, who's coming in, whether it's me or me by myself, or if there are other persons coming in, the intention is to always bring impact, right? But this is where we want to introduce, because it's time for another type of pivot and shift in this season. So we want to introduce you to what I call the clarity operating system, because clarity should not be something that we chase when things fall apart and it's not coming together. It should be a system that you return to. So it is your compass. It is the thing that brings you back to the place that helps you to assess yourself, realign yourself, and move forward, right? Because why? There are going to be peaks and valleys. And so you got to have a system to return to so that you can realign yourself. So the clarity operating system works in five simple movements. Number one, capture. That's where you got to write everything down. So there's a whole thing that we talked about in the Let's Get Clear challenge. So maybe you can be a part of the next one, because we're going to do that again coming up soon. Number two, clarify, right? So that means define meaning and relevance. Okay, so you writing it down, but then you got to define meaning and relevance, because everything that has meaning for one season may not be relevant for that season, but relevant for something else. But it's a part of the vision. Make sense? Then number three, we got to decide that whole thing of decision making. So choose direction intentionally, make decisions intentionally based on what you've written down, what you've defined meaning for and relevance, right? It's all intertwined. Then number four is design, right? Create structure and sequence. You got to have structure for what you're doing because I'm telling you, if you don't, it will fall apart. And then number five is all about that vested action. Do you got to execute with accountability? Okay. So this system, it helps you to remove the emotional decision making, not emotional decision making, intentional, and it replaces with order. So we don't have the emotions anymore. We have intentional decision making, and it replaces it with order. It replaces that emotionalism with order. So it's just like the word tells us in First Corinthians 14:40, let all things be done decently and what? In order. So when you operate from clarity, sustainability becomes possible. Execution becomes cleaner, and then growth no longer feels chaotic. So you're moving, you're making some progress. It's just not busy without productivity or being productive or feeling productive. You remove the chaos because you're clear about what you're doing, you're clear about where you're going, you're clear about the decisions you're making, and you're clear about when to execute and how. Is that good? So I'm telling you, this is gonna be deep, good, deep stuff. It's gonna be really, really good, and it's really gonna help to lift that foggy cloud that you may have. You got all these ideas, and you're not sure where to start and how to do it. I'm telling you, pen to paper is gonna be the thing for you to get that clarity. So this experience in its totality, it honors your thinking, number one, and it respects your capacity because everybody's level is going to be different. And then it equips you with tools you can use again and again, over and over and over again. And that's why systems are important because systems help to get you to that place of returning to your alignment. When things get off, when things get shaky, when something doesn't work, you got a system to go back to return to realign you and get you back on track. That's that's well worth the price of admission. So here's the deal: if you're one of those persons, or if you're a business owner, you got a team, and it's like I just don't know. You got people who are doing the work, but it's like stuff's all over the place. It's chaotic. That means there's probably a lack of order there. And so you want some clarity so that you can make sure you got people in the right place doing the right thing at the right time for the right reason in the right season because that is what's important and that clarity will make the difference on any given day. So if you're one of these persons that aspiring entrepreneur, business owner, leader, organizational leader, or whatever, and your vision is heavy, or your direction is blurred, or your movement lacks peace, right? It's just always something going on. It's always chaotic. I'm telling you, pen to paper was created for people just like you. So clarity is not something you wait for, it's something you write, define, and steward, as we previously stated. So here again, I want to invite you not to just an event, but for a process that will change how you think, decide, and execute. How you think, decide, and how you execute. So until the next time, I want you to think about the fact that clarity is not a feeling, it's a system. It's an operating system, and it begins with pen to paper. We have all these devices and stuff, but if we lose power, you don't lose your vision. You don't use your ability to put pen to paper. And so I want to encourage you if you have not registered for the upcoming Pen to Paper Summit 2026, you can get registered. You can attend from anywhere. Um, the virtual experience is available to you. Um, there will be tools and resources we'll provide to you, workbooks, um, information that you can go back to. There's going to be an array of content from our other speakers. We have Sean Whitlock, who is a senior banking officer. He's going to help us with that financial piece. We have Booker T. Spencer Jr., Coach Spence, who is going to lean in on purpose and give us some value proposition type perspective because that's key. You got to know your value as an entrepreneur and what you're doing. And then we have um, a strategist coach, Rosalind Davis. And I'm telling you, these people are genuine in who they are and what they do. And I feel like the impact is really going to be absolutely phenomenal. But there's going to be sustainable growth for you after this is over. So here's the thing, go to bridgetmoody.com/events and get registered. Listen, you can attend in your PJs. You can chill. Many areas still have inclement weather, it's still super cold. I get it. Um, so grab your ticket, get your seat, and hang out with us for a bit on Saturday, January 31st. And I promise you, you'll be glad you did. If you know somebody that this will benefit, you know somebody that's want to start a business, and I'm telling you, in this season of time, there's so many entrepreneurs emerging, but there's so many who are emerging with creativity without direction and structure. And so have them. It's the best investment. I'm telling you, we do not waste your time. It's the best investment you can make. And so I do believe it will bring dividends for years and years and years to come because it's a system you can use over and over and over again. So until next time, if I don't see you at Pen to Paper Summit 2026, we'll see you next Tuesday, right back here for Tuesday Motivation and Conversation. Don't forget, go get registered. And if it's not for you, then share it with somebody else. Okay. And if you can't attend, recordings are going to be available. All right. So make sure that you get registered and grab your seat, uh, grab your quiet place, and join us for Pen to Paper Beyond the Blueprint, Vision, Velocity, and Vested Action. We'll see you next time.